Hello. Welcome to the Tuesday Night Music Show. It is the 4th of July. Of course, you were all probably watching this on Cinco de Mayo because we're backed up. We have no lives, so we're here. We have, of course, Mr. Howie Darkstar.
Hello.
We have Boston John and Georgia Matt with us tonight.
Hey.
We also have no plan, so we're just here. I guess we go ahead and kick it off with Boston John's record roundup. See what John's got for us this week. He's got something.
I do have one. I have one off to the side. We've been showing some love to the lady rockers, so I went back to the first lady rocker that I can think of, and that would be Janice with the Big Brother and the Holding Company.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sadly, passed away in 1970 at the age of 27. She's one of the first of the 27 club.
Right.
But blues, soul, and just took command of a stage when she went out there. This has got The Piece of My Heart. It's got Ball and Chain. Short-lived career. She really only recorded for 3 years from when she got signed to when she passed. But what a legacy and some amazing material. Just a powerhouse.
I love the artwork. I love it. You know, I know people that have framed that, had it professionally framed, and they have it in their little man cave.
With the gatefold sleeve here with the band on stage. Mm-hmm. It's just sad, you know, the drugs came and took her, that she was tied up in that world, but so much talent. I mean, I still play Piece of My Heart, you know, for the older crowds. Mm-hmm. Buy me a Mercedes-Benz. She's got, you know, a pretty decent catalog of hits. So I think she led the way. She opened the door for the Tina Turners and Bette Midlers and all that came later that were really solo female artists. And since we'd done a lot of lady rockers, I figured we'd show them some love. So this was 1969, I think this was, but good purchase.
How many Big Brother and the Holding Company albums were there?
2?
There were 2?
Yeah, there were 2, and she was big on 100 Proof Southern Comfort, and she left, which was an enormous amount of money back in the day, $2,000 to have a party instead of having a wake.
Uh-huh.
She just wanted a party, and she wanted $2,000 worth of booze around a campfire. That's how she wanted it, you know. She was a true hippie.
She was a party animal.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The Big Brother and the Holding Company stuff that I remember, just from memory, didn't really feature her. She was a background singer.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And then she went off and did her own thing with like Pearl and all that. But But the Big Brother and the Holding Company, I don't know who the guy was who was singing in there, but he was like the singer, and then she would come in on the choruses and things as a backing vocalist, if memory serves.
Yeah.
Well, sounds correct.
They tried, but you know, when she was dead, they just fell apart. They couldn't make any hits, you know.
Well, didn't she leave the band before she died? I mean, she wasn't in Big Brother and Holding Company when she died, right?
No.
Right.
But
she left and went solo.
They tried to carry on, and they just kind of
right.
I mean, I didn't buy any more albums from them.
No, this might have been their last release, because this was 69. Yeah. She died in October of 74. Not 70, rather. I'm sorry. So
their stuff, I mean, to my recollection, was a lot more lighthearted than her solo
kind of folky
stuff. Yeah, but it kind of almost reminded me of like British Invasion stuff, like Paul Revere and the Raiders type of things. It's like what they were doing more of than, you know, Janice singing, you know, Take Another Piece of My Heart kind of thing. It was a very different vibe, but yeah, cool pick.
Yeah, excellent.
So what 90s rock actor are you going to show us on your phone this week, Matt?
Oh, and I don't even have Jay here to defend me on the 90s rock jobs, but actually 2017 and sort of rock, but more folky, Ed Sheeran's Divide. And yes, you were right about the phone part. Ed Sheeran, just amazing singer, and just some good songs on this one. 4 big breakaway hits here: Castle on the Hill, Shape of You, Perfect, which I think has been many a first dance. And also Galway Girl is on here. Just a really good album overall, so worth checking out.
He was just in Boston. He just played Gillette Stadium and broke Taylor Swift's record from about a month ago for the largest capacity crowd. 84,000 in attendance. Wow. So
amazing. Yeah.
You're right, though. He does come up a lot in wedding song list requests.
Yeah.
And one of the only artists really that I can think of that's doing a lot of anything ballad that's modern, contemporary. There's not a lot of other artists who are doing anything that's even close to that.
There's a guy named Charlie Puth that's kind of been emerging over the past little bit here, but nothing on that Ed Sheeran level, at least not yet. He has a song called One Call Away or something like that.
It's Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah. I guess, our audience would ask for, I haven't done a lot of school stuff in the past many years, but you don't really know what to play. I mean, that was the staple. You would play the slow dances at school dances, but now you don't do it because what are you going to play? Because there's nothing. You just kind of keep it energy and interactive and all this stuff.
Right.
But there's very few things that you can play. And Ed Sheeran has a couple that you could actually get away with playing. I mean, before that was what James Blunt, Beautiful. That was like something you could do. And then
if you play the edited version,
well, of course, that was a long time ago. But,
we wondered about Ed when he first came on the scene, if he was going to have the staying power and, be able to keep putting out hit after hit. He's probably get enough top 20 songs now to fill a greatest hits record. Oh, sure. He's always on the radio with something.
Yeah. I agree.
As well as a writer too.
And in getting that album pulled up, I saw that he already has one out this year as well. It looks like, is this one called Minus? They're always like a math symbol on here. So the one I showed was Divide. So I think this one's Minus or Dash. Who knows? Hyphen. So we'll see where it all goes for old Mr. Sheeran this year. Obviously doing well. And John, I think he had a center stage, whereas Taylor had that big honking screen at the kind of toward the end that took up like thousands of seats. That kind of surprised me, that logistic decision.
You pack more in, everybody gets a good seat if you're playing the round. Like Leopard did that first.
What do you got, Howie?
Well, I'm going to keep it the theme with John, with the female vocalist, and it is Nico and the Velvet Underground.
Oh, wow.
And any of you newcomers that don't know this, Lou Reed and John Cale were in that band, and they wrote all the music. But the band was put together as a goof by Andy Warhol because he wanted to promote this supermodel or make her into a supermodel, Nico. Apparently, she died from misadventure with drugs, but that's the album that has the banana on it. It's very famous. And if you have an original copy, according to Discogs, they're worth quite a bit of money. And after Nico was gone, the Velvet Underground carried on. And what happened was Lou Reed became the lead of the band. He wrote all the songs and everything. And then he broke away, and then he was just Lou Reed. And then he, had monster hits with, Walk on the Wild Side, and then, things like that. And, so that's my pick, is the Nico and the Velvet Underground with the banana cover.
Going way back. I'm going to go back quite that far.
That's got Sweet Jane on it, right?
Yes, it has Sweet Jane.
That's so nice.
It's a really down tempo Sweet Jane. An article I read about that when he first came out, in that particular album, they called it sing talking, whatever phrase that's supposed to mean. It was like, because he did actually, when you think about it, sometimes he would sing, but sometimes he would just talk.
Well, it's like beat poet stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
not rap, but beat poet stuff. Yeah.
Right. That's the scene he was in, was with the beat poets. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I'm going to pull an album up here that I'm almost 100% confident John's familiar with this artist. I don't know if Howie is, and I pretty much put money on Matt not knowing who this is. So I'm going to turn you on to something that's actually pretty cool.
All right.
This is an artist who is a female artist. She was with a band called Shalimar for a while that has some really good songs. Then she did a solo album, and it's this one right here, is Jody Watley. This is an amazing album. People talk about Janet Jackson and Paula Abdul and all that stuff from back when. Jody Watley. This album was pretty big, right, John?
Yes, it was.
A lot of singles on it. I don't have.
Don't You Want Me is on that, and
Don't You Want Me, Still a Thrill, Love Injection, Looking for a New Love.
Looking for a New Love was huge up here.
To read them off, but this stuff was every bit as big as at the time as the Janet stuff. Just say,
I remember the songs. I didn't remember her name though.
Yeah, Jody Watley, and she had other albums, but this was the big one. The breakout solo album. She's British. I don't know who produces this stuff, but a lot of it kind of sounds like. He totally did not have a hand in it, but a lot of it kind of sounds Prince-esque. Wouldn't you say?
It's got that Minneapolis bounce.
I mean, Still a Thrill has the Lynn drum in it and stuff. But yeah, this is a fire album.
And her singing with Shalimar was stellar too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
With the second time around, and Night to Remember.
Night to Remember. Yeah, that was good. She wasn't on Dead Giveaway. She had left at that point, right?
I think so. I think she was.
Wasn't Jermaine Stewart the guy in there? That I don't know. Anyway,
might have been.
I need to brush up on my Shalimar. Also, a British actor. It's pretty cool. Had a couple incarnations, but yeah, this Jody Watley's self-titled.
She got good mid-tempo dance full of fillers. So go right in with your 108 to 115 zone. Perfect.
Nice.
Nobody is talking about this one though, but it's so good. It's so good.
I'll definitely have to check that out.
The one that my favorite song on here, I don't think was, well, it might have been an R&B single. It's not the big ones. It's my favorite is called Love Injection. And I remember talking to Mark Mosley, Jay's mentioned him before, who was just a savant. He was from Boston too, and he just knew everything about music. We were talking about this, and I said, the one I like is Love Injection. He looked, give me a blank stare. He listens like, how have I never heard this song? This is amazing. I'm like, I don't know, it's on the album. But this was like always playing in the car when I was a teenager. Like somebody had this and was playing it. And yeah, I remember hearing that track on the radio. It's good stuff.
And her straight album versions are good, sometimes better than the 12-inch remixes, because there are some remixes that just play around too much with the song and it kind of loses its flow.
I'd have to agree with you on that. I would have to agree with you.
Because I got the 45s to get the better versions. I never purchased that record, but I've got all those singles you named. I've got
the Looking for a New LP single took a few liberties that I wasn't really crazy about. And you're right. The album version, I think, is much, much better and cleaner.
Yep.
And a lot of that stuff they were doing on the 12-inch, just it wasn't necessary. There was no reason for it. The songs were fine all by themselves. They were danceable and funky, yet had radio play. So really, really a neat piece of work. I don't know that her sophomore album did much of anything, but this one was super hot.
Yeah, there was a change in the music at that point. That whole New Jack Swing bop was kind of going away. So
but this was not that. This was like smooth. This was almost like MPLS stuff, but the British version of it. In my ears, it was like Jam and Lewis doing Janet Jackson. That's what it sounded like to me. But maybe with a little bit of a Prince edge to it. I don't know. I just thought it was really good. At the time, I knew in my mind this was a Paisley Park production, but totally not. Totally not. It's British stuff. But yeah, it's cool. I'm checking it out. There you go.
Good music discovery there. Yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a really good one. If you care to listen to that stuff from that era, it's an unsung classic in my opinion. It's just so good. And it's not just a song or two. The album is good. There are a couple like that where you get a lot of bang for your buck. And I think this was probably, I don't know if it was 86 or 87. I don't have my glasses on. But it was right there.
Yeah.
Anyway, a pick for you.
I like it. That's a good pick.
That I thought of while I was going to the bathroom before the show.
Yeah,
hey, we haven't talked about Jody Watley. Let's talk about her. That was a good album.
I forgot all about the pick, and I just came off the top of my head.
Right.
I'm seeing a banana. Okay, I will go with that.
Blue banana. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't hear her much, like, I don't know, getting played. I don't hear her played on like the classic 80s stations or the R&B stations or Studio 54 radio or the Groove. And that's weird because she totally belongs there. She's that good. It's like the one everybody forgot.
Yeah.
And if you like pop music, they're catchy songs. They're really catchy songs. And she was a pretty lady too.
Yeah. The album cover shows it for sure.
Yeah. She was pretty lady. She wasn't like overtly, sexualizing herself kind of thing.
Right. Right.
She was an attractive woman. She wasn't, playing the whole Madonna card. She wasn't doing that. So
right.
I think at best she like dress on stage.
I think a tutu was her thing for a minute. She had she would wear like leggings and a tutu with some sweater or something. That was kind of her thing. But anyway. So we're here and we can talk music a little bit, I guess. Anybody got anything musical on their minds this week?
I had a question because I see a lot in the DJ forums and things like that where people are asking a bunch of DJs for tips on, hey, I have this wedding coming up. This is the theme. What are some good songs for it and all? So whether it's preparing for a wedding or even in your personal listening, how are you guys discovering music these days?
Me, I'm primarily discovering music by request. I do listen to music, but I'm not necessarily always the tastemaker. I might hear something I really like, but it doesn't mean my audience is going to like it. Mm-hmm. So I really kind of wait for them to let me know what they want to hear. I will, however, turn people on to things that maybe they haven't heard before, some older stuff. But when it comes to newer stuff, I'm not doing a lot of breaking of tracks. I'm letting them tell me what's good and being prepared. And that's why it's important to have your music like promo only,
right?
And Top Hits USA and just have that stuff. Sure. So usually when they ask for something, I have it. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I've missed it or something, by a week or two if it's real hot. But
sometimes we've been sitting on it for 6 months because they weren't ready for it yet.
That's right. I've done that a lot too.
I'm like, I didn't know I had this. I've never played it. Play count 0.
What was the track you guys were losing your damn minds about a month ago? Was it it was the Dua Lipa Barbie song.
Yeah, Dance the Night.
I'm gonna dance the night.
Yeah.
And you guys all swore it was gonna be this monster hit. Dude, I'm getting snake eyes on this. Nothing.
People haven't heard it. Out here, it's on the radio at least once an hour. If you listen to 1 hour of pop radio, it just cycles again. It just
but no one's asking for it, is what I'm trying to say.
Gotcha.
Well, the movie just.
You know what I mean?
It's in Barbie, so it's probably going to be more kids.
Yeah. I was just thinking something like that might have a little more legs to it.
It might be a slow burn. We might see that come.
I was just ready for this wave where everyone had to have it right now, and I'm like, all right. But nothing.
I expected a ton of remixes and all this, and so far it's just the straight version is all.
No one's asking for it, and you know what? I'll eat my words in 3 months because it could happen.
Yeah.
But again, it's like it's hard to go out there and try to be a tastemaker or guess this stuff. You can be ready, but maybe they're not.
Right.
So I've thought about this too. When people go on to, say, hey, I'm doing this kind of party or that kind of party. Does anyone have suggestions? I see a lot of people jumping their butts about, hey, you're a DJ. You should know this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but I don't think that's what people are really doing sometimes they are.
Yeah.
But I think most of the time people are just looking for ideas. And
where else do you get to talk to thousands of DJs at a time? At once.
What have I not thought of? You know,
Yeah, back to the original question Matt asked. I would use the promo only Hot 20 and just listen to those and go, kind of make a judgment call. What's gonna hit 6 months from now, and that's usually seriously how it goes. It's not their favorite song right now, but then oh my gosh, 6 months later, I gotta have that song.
Yeah, you develop the ear for it. You can pick a hit when you hear it. You're like, oh, that's gonna do something. You just know sometimes.
I just take it and I put it on the hard drive, the external hard drive, and if somebody asks for it, I'll have it. Like Brian said, I might not even know, who the artist is, but I'll say, wait a minute, let me just check this out. I was like, oh, okay, this one's all right, and I always play. I always keep the clean versions, no swears, because that way I don't have to, figure out, oh, did I play the wrong version? I don't have the wrong version, so.
There you go.
On promo, you just got to stay away from the urban club, and you should be all right.
Yeah, yeah.
It depends on the category they're trying to fill. I mean, I'll help people out with song ideas, but if someone just comes up and says, "I'm doing a country party, what do I play?" It's like, okay, that's a little too broad of a stroke. It's like, I've never heard a country song ever. But if it's something specific, like they really want like 70s funky, I'll be like, all right, well, here's some artists. You got to get Rufus and Chaka Khan. You got to get Brian Family Stone. You got to get, you give them some direction that way, at least if they have a target.
Well, country's a weird one for me because I don't know what a good country song sounds like. Like, I don't have the ear for it. I mean, the country for the last, I'm going to say 40, 45 years,
I don't get the same.
I know "Let Your Love," "Glow" by the Bellamy Brothers is an amazing songs. Or "Let Your Love Flow."
That's like the 70s, right?
That's
50 years to find a country song.
England Dan and John Ford Coley was cool, and that was crossover, as was because that was essentially Dan Stills is who that was, who had country hits. But yeah, I don't know what a good country song is because I can't identify it.
What I have is in a crate. I think I have 20 or 30 country songs. And say, hey, can you play some country? Like, because I'll play to all ages or whatever, and all tastes. And I have that. Boom! I have those 20 or 30 songs that everybody knows. Like Shania Twain and "Country Girl, Shake It for Me," and
those are staples.
Horse Ride a Cowboy.
Yeah, probably Garth Brooks in there. Maybe a Kenny Rogers.
I may be the guy asking, "Hey, I have a country wedding. I know some of the standards of what else is cool." I might be that guy that asks that question, and some of them will all
jump down your throat.
I'll completely ignore.
They play that Morgan Wallen song about whiskey. Like, they're all of them.
Right.
Which one? They're all.
You got it. That's it.
Yeah. I don't understand it. Just because I don't understand doesn't mean it's bad. I just don't get it.
Okay, here we are, July 4th. I predict that he is going to come out with his own branded whiskey very soon, just like Jimmy Buffett has his own tequila, and so does Sammy Hagar. He has his own tequila.
Well, he did. He sold it. But he does a lot of things. I mean, he's a pretty good businessman. He makes a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the guy could, and they probably buy it, but it needs to be discount, probably something you could get at Walmart, no top shelf stuff.
And I'm sorry. I was going to say, I think at the time, I was growing up, kind of in my teens and maybe even early 20s, like MTV was always a good gauge at what was popular. TRL and even some of the shows before that, at any of those top 10 type countdown shows, you really got a good pulse on what was going on. They were good at telling you what was new, telling you what was topping the charts and all of that. And, there was a lot of golden era modern singers around then too, the boy band eras. I'm talking like 90s boy bands here, maybe like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. You had your Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, stuff like that, things that are still getting requested today. So it's kind of a good time to really come into it too. But it seems a lot harder these days because it's like, one, all of that older stuff I mentioned and even stuff decades before that just stays. And two, like, you mainly discover a lot of things through the internet. You guys mentioned promo only. And it's just, the internet is just so eclectic and diverse. And it's just, anybody you look up and you discover for the first time has already got a couple of million views on their song. So it's kind of tough to feel like you're not missing your audience, the intro sometimes.
You what they want to hear. I mean,
right.
Trust the requests. If there was a point in time we didn't know who Britney was, and someone came up and asked us play Britney, and we said,
"Good call."
Play off of them. I mean, there's a girl at work. I say girl, she's probably 21, 22 years old. She's one of the servers. And I do a couple hour warm-up sets when I can, like 8 to 10. Sometimes I'll do a warm-up. And I watch her because she tends to let me know with her body language, the way she's walking, what she likes to listen to.
Gotcha.
So I was playing some things and I decided to play Robin What It Takes. And the song is probably 26, 27 years old. I don't know what year it came out, 95, 96, something like that. Cool song. And sure enough, she ran up to the booth and said, "Who is this and what's it called?" And I told her and she just walked away. And so now it's like I almost have this challenge where it's like if she's there, I'll try to turn her on to something else. So what's like that, So I was trying to think what would be like that. And I came up with like Mandy Moore Candy's kind of like that, John and I were talking about this the other night.
Yeah.
And John was going like he was doing a J. He was transitioning into other things, and that's cool. But I was like, what's right in that pocket? Because she digs that.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty narrow band, really, when you look at it. I mean, there's not a whole lot there. There's some cool stuff there.
You're gonna hit her with Crystal Waters. You're gonna hit her with.
Well, yeah, but that's right in that too. From, and it's hit or miss, maybe or maybe not.
Yeah. This was something about that one. Maybe she just likes that one.
Well, maybe, but I mean, that's the vibe. And Crystal Waters is not that vibe. The Mandy Moore is that vibe.
That whole pure energy zone from.
Maybe
mid-90s club if she
that would be like
vibes with Robin S.
Maybe the early Christina Aguilera stuff, maybe the early Britney Spears stuff, but of course she knows that. So it's fun to just play the weird ones if they don't.
That's the magic trick to try to draw her up again to ask you for another one. Then I got it.
Well, that's what's so fun about stuff like this. Because I can play it and nobody knows it. Matt's generation doesn't know it. Matt doesn't know it.
Yeah, I think I've heard Shalimar before, like the name Shalimar.
I like how you said that. Shalimar?
Sounds like very aquatic. Right?
Yeah. Shalimar was all over the place. Shalimar did a lot of different stuff. If you've heard one Shalimar song, you haven't heard Shalimar. It's not like they're not AC/DC who did the same album. For 50 years.
15 times.
Yeah, 15 times. They really do have a different album every time. It's interesting incarnations. And there's stuff they did on the Footloose soundtrack, and there's stuff they did during the disco era, and there's stuff they did that's almost kind of funky and new wave. And yeah, they were all over the place. So an interesting act. But yeah, it's stuff like this that's fun to just throw in. And fortunately have the liberty to be doing that kind of stuff now because I can't always at weddings. I got to do what I'm told. I'm a hired hand. They want to hear certain things. You play them. You shut up and play your songs. But yeah, I could be a little more artistic with my mixes. Doing what I'm doing now weekly, which is good for me. I like it. But,
yeah, I have a brunch gig coming up this Saturday. I'm so excited about it. Just because of that, it's like I get to go and sort of showcase more than playing off of a slate of requested songs. So.
Yeah. I mean, just as long as they're digging what you're doing, that's
point.
Key. That's key. I mean, yeah, I always feel pressure when it's a paid gig because I know how much it's like costing them per song for me to be there. So I really try to hit the nail on the head. But when I'm doing club stuff, especially when I'm there an hour early to do a warm-up set, I don't care if they like it or not. I'm doing it on my time, so I can play around with stuff and just see what happens. But yeah, it's fun when you can take liberties. I never want to strong arm people into anything, and I never want to.
Right.
I've had company in town all week, and I guess this would be not my youngest nephew, but one of my nephews recently got married, and I don't know his wife very well, and she's a little shy. And I told his big brother, I said, well, she seems nice. I said, but I'm kind of waiting for her to come to me, because I don't want to be like, hey, like me, I mean, when you're ready, come to me. I'm not going to strong arm you into, you have to deal with me because I'm Uncle Brian, I guess I kind of feel that way about my audiences too. I don't want to strong arm them into a style that they're really not into. I might try to nudge it a certain way, and if I don't feel like I have a response, I'll pull back. You got to kind of know when to pull back, I think.
Yeah.
Sometimes leading them into a direction takes a few steps. It's not, I'm going to play the one song, you're going to love it. You build it up to take them there. You show them the path. Then they're already vibing with you. And
anytime I think, I'm programming anyway, it's not what could I play next, it's what would be the best choice to play next. Looking around the room, checking everybody else, seeing what they're doing, what would be the best choice for me to play right now? Not necessarily the obvious choice, but the best choice. What reaction am I looking for? I was doing the casino, and I think the people at the casino, that whole group, I believe they really enjoy predictable. I don't think they like surprises. I think they want to hear the same song they've been listening to over and over for the past 50 years again. I have a brother like that. He's in this pocket of music, and he doesn't want to leave it. And it's Ted Nugent, it's REO Speedwagon, it's Judas Priest.
Right.
He's good there. He doesn't want to go beyond that. That's his pocket, and that's fine.
Comfort zone, like you said.
Yeah, he can listen to Bob Seger, for the rest of his life and be a happy guy. Me, if I hear old time rock and roll again,
I'm guilty of over 1,000 plays of that. I know for sure. Easily.
Oh yeah.
Once per gig for 20 years plus.
You can't hear a song too much. It's possible. You can burn out on stuff.
It is possible, but
some crowds don't.
When I did that art gallery thing, and I was stuffed into the corner, I had 3 square feet. I'm mixing with that little tiny little mixer we all got for $80. They were really grooving. They were, moving around in their seats and this and that. And then someone came up, and guess what they asked for? Do you have old time rock and roll? I said, sure. I put it on, and it was like a flood. Everybody ran to the dance floor. And I was like, okay, I got your number now. Now I know.
Right.
It's like, holy shit.
Well, maybe Sweet Home Alabama's next. I mean,
that's it. Music Me All Night Long is going to fall off.
Yeah, it's very predictable.
Trifecta. Get Love Shack in there.
Sometimes that's what it is, and that's what they want.
They did. They asked for Love Shack, and then, oh my gosh, I did one thing which I had somebody came up, and they everybody loved it because it was a helping organization, a lot of therapists and things like that. And so I did some upbeat because they brought clients with them that were having a difficult time. So they would do these picnics. These are Saturday things I do. And I played Help Is On the Way, Little River Band. And I came running up. Who is this? I go, it's Little River Band. Little River Band. Where are they from? They're from Australia. And I'm like, yeah, where can I get that? I go, Amazon?
Right.
Anywhere.
Yeah, just about anywhere, or iTunes. It's still gets there on the yacht rock, soft rock stations, and so.
Sometimes you just pull the right track that just hits the nerves the right way, and that just breaks them loose. And that's our job. Figure it out. Keep poking until you get it.
You get 6 people come running up to the booth going, who was that? We want this as a theme song. And, because they do music therapy with their patients and so forth. And I was like, I said, sure. I told them who it was. And they, then I went into the crate, the uplifting crate, and played more, and it came again. They wanted to know, who is this? I go, okay. I said, look, why don't I do this? Give me your name and number, and I'll send you. I'm not going to send you the songs, but I'll email you a list of songs that you would be using in therapy. Uplifting songs. Hang On, Help Is on the Way. By what Rage Against the Machine, I think, did that. And so you can kind of catch a lot of different people with that. At least in my experience, and. For them, it was great. They love it,
It's strange when we talk about programming songs, what songs to play, what songs not to play.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a post that Rachel Lynch made probably a week ago. She was at the Marquee show. I didn't go. It was really hot out, and we had smoke. The forecast was like, instead of cloudy, it was smoke.
Smoke.
Said it right on my computer. I'm not going to in a tent in Chicago when the forecast says smoke.
This is the first time in my life I ever heard a weather forecast that said smoke.
Smoke. Yeah. So I didn't attend, but she was there, and she was one of the presenters, and something that she said, and she gave an explanation for it. I skimmed it. It was long. But one of the things that she had said was one of her bullet points that she had on her presentation was stop DJing for other DJs.
Right.
And she expanded on that, but she was going for it. I've kind of said the same thing before. I don't like DJing for DJs. She was talking about something different. She was talking about, generally just trying to please other DJs on what you're doing, what you're using, what you're playing. Some DJs will say, well, don't play the line dances that everybody does, that play something else. But who cares what another DJ thinks about what you're playing? Worry about what your audience thinks about what you're playing.
Right.
That's it.
I get it, kind of, sort of. I have seen DJs who just go for the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to their sets. And they're not really moving their audience with it. They're moving some of their audience with it, but not their entire audience with it, because they're doing the same thing that everybody else is doing. Yeah, that in that case, maybe you want to back off on some of the same thing that you're playing every week, and maybe DJing isn't really your thing at that point.
If it's a DJ battle and you're trying to show off and showboat, and there's just a paying crowd in front of you that's expecting to have their event do something else, and you're just going to show. But like, if you wouldn't, the reason I think she said that also was, don't put on the show in front of another DJ if it's not the way you're really going to perform. If you had a crowd in front of you, don't be that guy.
I didn't even read
kind of the explanation.
The only thing that I saw was like, hey, don't worry about what other DJs feel like you should play what you feel like your audience is digging, and that's very valid.
It is.
Well, she takes a lot of heat. She puts up some gig logs of some stuff, and she gets a lot of trash in the comments. And she puts up, she's very patient, very, very sweet, lovely girl. But and they're like, "Oh, what are you playing Kool and the Gang Celebration for? What year is it? What decade are you from?" And she just takes that kind of crap. So again, it's other DJs that are making these comments.
It's always the peanut gallery. I don't know. I know Howie knows this about me. I think John's getting to know this about me. I don't care what anyone thinks of me or what I do. It means nothing to me.
He really does.
I really don't care. I don't care if you don't like my clothes, if you don't like my car, if you don't like my kids. I don't care. They're not for you. They're for me. I could care less about what you think. I have no vested interest in you liking me or thinking like me or anything else. So I do what I do because it works. That's for me and my audience.
That's who you can be.
Freedom. That's freedom, brother.
It is. Yeah. I totally
is. That's freedom.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I'm not.
Things.
When I was young, I think I did things to upset people intentionally because it was easy to do. So I was doing that, but I don't do that anymore. I try not to upset anybody. I just don't really care if you don't like it. If you are a DJ and you don't like what I'm doing as a DJ, I don't care. You don't like my software? I don't care. You don't like my song selection? I don't care. You don't like my mixer? I don't care. I like my live show. Again, don't care. Doesn't matter to me. Don't matter. I don't care. So
unless they start paying your rent.
Well, I don't give into peer pressure like that, but I understand a lot of people do.
Yeah,
I mean, it's human nature to do this. A lot of people like sports. I don't like sports because I don't care. Well, you won. Well, what did I win? I didn't win anything. I won nothing. What's the satisfaction that I'm better than you? Well, who's to say that you can be better than me next week? What's the point of this? It's stupid. It means I don't get it. That to me, that's a waste of time to compete like that. And I feel like DJs are trying to compete like that. A lot of DJs with some of this stuff. With, you shouldn't play this, you should play that, and you should charge this, and you should. No.
And with gear, my gear is better than your gear, and they both do the same thing. You press a button, it makes music. What's the big deal? I don't care what kind of car you drive.
No,
we still get the job.
As long as it's serving everyone well, that doesn't mean that I'm not above constructive criticism. Don't take that the wrong way. If you know more than I do about something, and you tell me, "Hey, try this. I think this might work well for you," I'll give it a try. So I'm not saying I know everything. You can't tell me anything. I'm just saying after I've made a choice, it doesn't matter what you think about it because it works or it doesn't. That's just how I feel about things, which is probably my superpower. Well, because I don't care.
I'll tell you what, I got criticized for using this.
No, yeah.
At a gig.
Get a real controller.
Yeah. Okay, well, use a real controller. I said, They gave me 3 square feet at the art gallery.
Yeah.
I could not fit my flight case on a neck standee. I had to use a tripod with the speaker on it. I had that clamp on shelf. I had my computer and I had this on it. Nobody cared. I'd transition from song to song. I play what they wanted, and they tipped me very generously. So I could have bought 4 of these for the price of the tip.
I mean, as long as it's not negatively affecting your product, your end product, why not?
Why not? I mean, they loved it. Loved it enough to give me that much money over and above my fee.
Right.
I'm like, yeah. I mean, that was my answer to the criticism on it. And I showed somebody, use this at a gig, played the whole gig with it.
I think everybody knows too that I am a snob about sound.
Yeah.
I can't tolerate crap sound. If it's crap sound, I'll tell somebody, hey, that sounds like crap. I have no beef about that. I will say it to them. But I kind of know something about it. And I know what was painful to my head. If I'm in pain, someone else is probably in pain too. So yeah, I mean, in that regard, that is me with no filter attempting to give constructive criticism. But you can only sugarcoat something so much until you just have to just come flat out and say, hey, that sounds like ass. The SLA factor on this is very high, which is a real thing. SLA factor. If you go on to some of the audio companies' brochures, they will list an SLA factor in the specs, which literally means sounds like ass. And that is an industry inside joke, just so you know. So if you ever see that SLA factor, don't feel stupid that you don't know what it is. It sounds like ass. So if something really sounds terrible, it's like a 10. It's like, we're going to give this a solid 3. It's got an SLA factor of 3. So I've heard better, but it ain't bad, kind of thing. So just
for sure.
Trivia there for you when you're going through your brochures.
A little trivia there.
Speaking of speakers that are bad for you, should we talk about the recall? Did you guys see the Bose
Didn't hear anything about
information this week?
Nothing.
Bass modules on the Acoustimass system and the 321 head units. I guess the subwoofers, that they're getting older, overheating.
Yeah.
So there's a nationwide recall. So anyone who owns that Bose system with the little cube speakers, it's not DJ. It's like the home system. It's a big rectangular sub that came with it, and everything powers from the sub because that's just the way Bose runs, right? So there's a nationwide recall. So anyone who has, I know Acoustimass was listed and 2 or 3 other small shelf systems. I think it was the 321. They're like small surround sound systems. It's home audio, but we should at least let our viewers know that look and see if, check the recall, check the registration number on your unit and see if it's within that. And if so, they may swap it out, pay to have it cleaned. I guess if they get dusty, they catch fire, or if they get old, they catch fire. So
Howie had forgotten more about audio last Tuesday than I'll ever know. I mean, he just knows a lot about how amps and things work. Mm-hmm. But if I'm not mistaken, something like that, Howie, isn't that sometimes just kind of a matter of reprogramming a chip to do something different?
Yeah, they can.
On the Class D stuff?
Yes, they can. What they can do is, if I could reach.
I mean, sometimes, not always, obviously. Sometimes there's other problems, but a lot of times it's just a matter of a firmware upgrade on this stuff.
Well, that's not going to do a whole lot for the heat, but what will do is
your heat sinks. Yeah.
Now this is an awfully large one for
that's big.
Something big, but they may recall that, and when they do the repair, they'll use that white paste on it, and they might bump up to a little bit bigger
heat sink.
Bigger heat sink.
Yeah.
Better dispersion on that, and if that doesn't do it, and they have room. I've seen heat sinks with fans attached to them, and then it becomes effective. But, John brought up a really good point. If you have that system, check it out, because they have been catching on fire.
Well, on a positive note, isn't it nice? I mean, I'm not a Bose user, but it is nice to know that there's a company that's going to go, hey, look, we're going to recall this whole system.
Yeah, did it straight out. I saw it was listed on the Circuit City page, so they're just letting everybody know.
Wait a minute, Circuit City, those still exist?
Yeah, well, that's where you would buy it back in the day. I guess they're up north. There's still a couple.
What is like Canada? The Circuit City's in Canada?
Yeah, I think so.
I thought that whole company went out of business.
That's what I thought.
No, I think they're still up there. We'll have to ask Karen next time we get them in here.
But they went the way of the dodo bird.
Yeah.
It's checking out like Christmas tree shops is going away. They're all going away. There's no more stores.
Matt had said in the comments that I didn't mention our sponsor. I thought I did. Maybe I didn't. So anyway, before we log off tonight, show is brought to you by DJVampire.com. You can check them out in the description of this video, along with some of our other channel sponsors that are scrolling here on the screen with us.
Mm-hmm.
So have a look at the sponsors in the description of the video on YouTube. They'll be there.
All righty.
So we'll wrap it. We'll stick a fork in this thing. What do you say?
All righty.
So happy Cinco de Mayo to you.
Cinco de Mayo.
Whatever it is. And we'll see you next week.